breathing exercises. Make sure you breathe right. A lot of people say that. A lot of people tell me to do things that I already know to do. The thing is, every interruption, and also their assumption, where they're feeling the need to tell me that, it makes things very complicated. But down to my core, I love making the world a better place. I grew up in the 1980s when we had integrated schools. A black kid was just another kid. That's the way it was. When we saw racism, we were taught that the difference between someone being bullied for their entire life and it ending is whether or not you're going to look the other way. Get involved. There's all these law enforcement want to look the other way, not get involved, literally not do their jobs. And they want to force me to do their jobs while they commit crimes against me that prevent me from having the resources to even take care of myself. Now, the situation here, so far the police have spoken nicely. They do make mistakes. That officer last night did make another, pretty big mistake, but I still got to give him good marks because he did review the situation and assess it. I went out of my way my entire life because with me not having a family for most of my life, well, actually ever, relatives are not the same thing. A relative is like, you got an alcoholic uncle that you don't really know. You've met him a couple of times, but he's sending you letters and stuff, wondering if you can buy him some booze or send him some money for some booze. That's a relative. By family, that's immediate family. That's people who live in the same household as you. That's people who see what's going on. When you have a problem, you can go to them and say, hey, I'm having to deal with this wingnut. I need help with this. I got some crazy person doing fucked up shit to me. Why are they crazy? I don't know, you'll have to ask them, but it's crazy to do fucked up shit to people. That makes the world a worse place. And then there's all these people who want to do that fucked up shit and then cry wolf. People like Molly. People like Maddie Boa and Alicia Bollinger and Natalie Bollinger. People like Danica Garner and Rochelle Shelley Campbell. People like Ted Bollinger. People like Tim Beeson. People who took an active role in making my life a living hell, for doing the right thing, for doing as I was asked. I want you to imagine that you're being victimized because you did what you were asked to do. You're being treated like you're a stalker, literally for things that you were asked to do by that person. You're out of your minds. I got to tell you, I'm not a very nice guy anymore. But my dream has always been to make the world a better place by building. That is the only way to fight a war. There are 3 ways to fight a war: building things, education or religion, basically controlling the ways that people think. If you change the way that people think, that is fighting a war too. You're forcing them to change. With ignorant people, if you force them to get an education, what are they going to do then? Well, what are they educated in? I mean, they're educated in a broken system and how it's supposed to work, not in how it actually does. And they tell us with so much assuredness that this is the way the system works. No, it's the way it's supposed to. In reality, it's human beings with bias that hold every single position. From your county sheriff to the county clerk to the president of the United States, the president of Russia, it don't matter. Everybody's got their opinions and their bias. But we've created a situation where we have a class of victims. A victim class for you to pick out at will. You can pick out any white random homeless male. Call him mentally ill and do whatever you want to him. What? What are you expecting of us? You throw all of these child molesters out on the streets, all of these rapists, all of these violent offenders. Nobody wants to be around them. They're violent people. And you throw them at the homeless. 81% of us out here, homeless, are out here because of victimization. And then the courts and the cops, they railroad us and run us over in courts because nobody gives a shit. Nobody shows up at our court dates. Nobody fights for our rights. Those public pretenders don't give a shit. For all of them, it's the same thing. It's a free meal ticket on human lives. They're killing us. I tried to turn in the crimes against me, and I had to turn them into the wrong people. Scott DaCosta told me to bring him the, what do you call those? The protection orders. Joan Hanson had told me that it's the sheriff's job to take care of it. I followed my instructions, and then later on, the instructions were changed. I had to actually go and buy a printer so that I could make sure that I had copies of things, and that includes making copies of protection orders. Then, no matter what, they kept on changing the law. Kept on changing it. Oh, Sean, if somebody is threatening you from Texas, you can't turn it in here in Chapel, Nebraska. You have to go to Texas to turn it in, or you have to do it over the internet. Over the internet doesn't work. I need help with that. I've been trying to explain that for 6 years. I need someone to sit with me and actually help me with that. And if it's not working, I need them to verify that shit in court. I'm not victimized because of my lack of trying. It's not from my lack of effort. I believe in doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. I don't always know what the right thing to do is, but I'm certain that killing ain't it. When we've got predators like Scott DaCosta being the only law enforcement within a particular county, and his coworkers, his employees, are not doing their jobs because they work for that crooked SOB. That includes Leslie Snell. When they're allowed to railroad by pretending that that person is schizophrenic. Scott DaCosta had to lie to a lot of people. And you'd think that somebody who is, well, schizophrenic, that's what Scott DeCosta was running around telling everybody. I already know how this works. William Barr, one of the other cops in the situation, he tried making the same claim. Except William Barr went one step further and slandered me incredibly wonderfully. He claimed I told him I was schizophrenic, but later on couldn't find the evidence. Now then there's, of course, the county attorney. Now the county attorney, there was already a conflict of interest there because when I was sent to the county attorney, he refused, and so did the one previously. He claimed he was gonna. Here's the thing, if he's involved with that investigation and the situation with Scott DeCosta, yes, it is a conflict of interest. That judge knew that there was a conflict of interest, but he allowed it anyway. I was abused in the jails and in the prison, and by the way, I was in prison for misdemeanors that I was not convicted of, and they had to drop the charges. You want to know how that works? Look up Nebraska law. Now I want you to look up the words county safe keep. If your local county doesn't have a jail, which Dual County has a jail, but it's not open, it's closed. It's been closed for decades. They can send you wherever they want. With Scott DeCosta telling these different jails and the prisons that I was schizophrenic, telling doctors and nurses that I was schizophrenic, telling people in town that I'm schizophrenic. See, every officer is taught to do that when you try to turn them in. Pretend you're schizophrenic. Make it your word versus theirs. Do everything that you can to ensure that the evidence is never shown. Scott DeCosta, knowing that I was trying to turn him in, committed repeated felonies to get a hold of that evidence and destroy it. He knew that I was trying to turn him in since 2018. The Nebraska State Patrol, it's their job to do something about it. They played fucking stupid. Then we got to ask the question of when Bill Burr, one of the state patrolmen in Chapel, Nebraska, he claimed that he turned that in, and he claimed that there was Sergeant Jones of the Nebraska State Patrol. That's the name that he threw at me. That one, and what was the other one? Investigator Woods. But then when I asked them about it, they didn't know shit. They didn't know anything. Why were they calling me then? See, that's the thing, is that she claimed that she called me and my voicemail wasn't set up. And when did she call me? Then I'm told that I have to answer the phone because they're calling me from restricted numbers. They could have called me from a non-restricted number at any point in time. And they proved that after the assault by Scott DeCosta and State Trooper Lassen. Through all of this, there's all of these people who know I'm not schizophrenic and delusional. Many of them even recorded on my Facebook and my YouTube saying I'm not schizophrenic or delusional. But they needed to come forward themselves. I shouldn't have been forced to record them. Natalie's friends, sorry, they weren't her friends. None of them were actually her friends. If they were her friends, instead of harassing me to the point that I had to try going to the police, I had to try to go to my friends for help. I had to live in a fucking garage during the winter time while the people that I was staying with were ripping me the fuck off. I had to take physical assaults, threats against my life and my family's life. Over what? Over a heroin addict trying to hide the fact that she's a heroin addict. Natalie was very sweet, but that doesn't mean that those drugs weren't more important than anybody else. Same thing with Alicia Bollinger. Same thing with Ted Bollinger. Natalie and Alicia, they learned what they were taught by their parents. And as much as Natalie may have genuinely cared, she most of all wanted love and acceptance from her family. And that was never going to happen. Not when your dad sees you as a sexual object and your mom sees you as a burden. I'm still being abused over this situation. I'm still being neglected because nobody's talking to these places with me and explaining the situation. Getting them to look at the evidence when they say things to me like, well, we'll take a look at that when the cops. Well, the cops aren't coming if all we're going to focus on is just the housing thing. I mean, if there's an extra office or room in that building, I can sit there for 8 hours a day and work on what I need to. It's a matter of having the outlet, having a place to plug in my computer, and not having to keep on moving that stuff. It kills my back. It kills my legs. Predators love it when they can call you mentally ill because then they can pretend to people that you're schizophrenic. And then nobody will listen to you. It doesn't matter how much fucking evidence you have. That's the thing. There was zero evidence of me stalking Natalie. There's a whole shit ton of evidence that I was the one stalked. The stuff they used to try to pretend that I was stalking them, like going to my friends for help. My friends. Well, supposed friends, I should say. No, that's not stalking somebody. But I have a penis. You know, there was a lot of people who promised, swore up and down they were going to help me before Natalie was killed. People like Joanna Taylor Smith, but I got sick of her bullshit. If we're going to have coffee, let's go have coffee. Let's sit down and actually talk in person. I want to show you my phone. I want to show you my computer. I want to show you what's going on. But they didn't care. Joanna Taylor Smith is a pretty blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl from under a rock, under a bubble with mommy and daddy that actually give a shit about her. When she got busted selling drugs when she was a kid, yeah, her boyfriend at the time was a grown-ass adult, Derek Parrish. She was underage, for certain. When she got busted, her parents went and bailed her out. Everybody else had to sit in jail. She's the only one that didn't have her name in the paper. She still brags about that. And she gets to skate out on a drug charge. See, that's one of the biggest issues we have out there. We've got these little pretty girls who are being abused at home, or ones who aren't being abused at home, have every opportunity and every chance in the world, and they want to go slumming. And then, of course, they're pretty, and they want to put on all that makeup and try to make themselves even more pretty. And then they go out and they try to get the wrong kind of attention. Joanna Taylor Smith was trying to get pregnant with a guy who already had a girlfriend who was pregnant. Derek Parrish. So, please forgive me if I'm not real happy with any of these folks. It doesn't mean I don't love them. I always wanted to get a piece of land for the victims. A little survival home for us. Those of us who suffer from PTSD, who have been through long-term abuse. For us to finally have a place where we're not victimized for being scared any longer. Where we don't have to be scared because we can stick up for each other and it's okay. How did you guys expect me to react when people were threatening to kill my friends and family, including children? How did you expect me to fucking react? These people expected me to not say anything. No, absolutely not. That allows the predator to get away to do it to somebody else, including Officer Michael Beard of Haxton, Colorado. But Candace Bondurant broke a bunch of laws too in that situation. How am I supposed to trust these folks? You know, I design things to make the world a better place. I don't design things to go out and kill people with. I don't design things to harm people, even if it's stuff that I design for the military. You know, I don't get to build any of this stuff. It's a matter of not having a place to do it. I save up the tools. I rent a place to do it. And then due to somebody else's stupidity, I end up with no place to do it. When you pay somebody a whole bunch of money so you can utilize a garage so that you can actually build something, and you spend that money, and then he beats his wife, you don't get your money back. You don't get your stuff back. She's pissed off at all of his friends. It's magically now all men's fault that this dude beat on his wife. Like, holy shit, first of all, I wasn't there. I don't even know if the dude beat on you or not. I know he's in jail for it, and I know all my stuff's over there, and I know, yet again, I can't even go over and get my stuff. You know, there was situations where I was friends with both the man and the woman in the situation. And when there's a situation like that where one of them gets violent or both of them get violent in some of those cases, you know, it's automatically assumed by many women that I'm automatically going to take the man's side. And usually I don't take the man's side. If I was there and he's telling the truth and she's not, then yes, I'm taking the man's side, but not because it's his side, it's because it's the truth. There's a lot of people right after Natalie died that wanted to defend me, but they tried to defend me by telling what they thought were little white lies. It wouldn't hurt nobody, and I'm like, no, you need to tell the truth. A lot of these people who I begged to come forward and tell the truth for years it took them hating me for them to admit to those things and throwing them in my face and pretending like they hid those secrets to protect me. I'm like, no, I already admitted to that shit, dude. And if you'd bothered to listen, you can go through a lot of my videos and you can hear people that I'm telling things, and later on they're like, you never said that. It's in the video. Or they say, oh, I never said that. I'm like, it's in the video. I recorded it. I recorded it because I had to. Because I couldn't sit around and wait on you to bullshit for forever. There is a time limit on this shit. Now, because so many people got involved, there's actually not. This is ongoing abuse. The fact that Scott DaCosta and his deputies have done this at least, well, depending on how you look at it, over a dozen times, at least 11, but there's a few other situations where, holy shit, I've tried to go to them with no less than 24 crimes that were committed in Dual County, and they haven't investigated any of them. They've intentionally left out important information pertaining to my case, including the situation with Robert Franklin Warnick. The police. Oh yeah, there are no police in Chapel, Nebraska. There's the Dual County Sheriff's Department, and they all do what DaCosta says. Scott DaCosta has committed a lot of felonies. Abuse against an at-risk adult is not a joke. Those are felonies. What he did, what Tara Smith did from the Department of Health and Human Services, they committed felonies. Also, there's people who committed a lot of misdemeanors, like, of course, Megan Missegate has committed a whole bunch of misdemeanors by not helping me to turn in the crimes that I was trying to turn in. I was being ignored by law enforcement over the mentally ill tag. I needed someone to help me to turn stuff in. Now, as a mandated reporter, which everyone in Nebraska is, she's got a pretty hefty fine and up to 6 months in jail. So, yeah, now she's committing felonies by trying to hide the misdemeanors, and you can't hide them. They're already on my YouTube channel. All you can try to do is destroy them like everyone else did. And as you see, it doesn't work. It's evidence of abuse. It's evidence of neglect. And that's important to note. When I was being abused, I went to mandated reporters. The fact that I had to do things by myself while my predators worked together, I had to do shit by myself. Well, I had people who wanted to get a hold of me and promise me that they were going to help me. They all had ulterior motives, and they were pretty difficult to read. No, they weren't. No, their ulterior motives were not difficult to read. I wanted to make a world where people don't feel like they have to lie. And all these folks that lied, using their kids as an excuse. Oh, I'm afraid for my kids. I lied because I'm afraid for my kids. I lied because I'm afraid for my kids. Whatever. What you're not registering in your head is that I told the truth because I'm afraid for you and your kids. And I'm also afraid for many other people and their kids. I'm afraid for my little sister and her daughter. And for good reason. My wish is for a piece of land that people can actually live on. people who are peaceful, the people who are sick of being victimized and just want to get away from people. But there's always a Molly, always. Tom left his pillow and one of his blankets in my vehicle. I'm probably gonna message him and see if he's on his way to Portland. I need to not be stuck out here broke in my vehicle just trying to survive. There has got to be something positive in my life, some positive interaction. But I don't get it. I don't have it. I don't get to go see my friends and hang out in Boulder anymore. I don't get to go and see my safety network. The people who'd step up when there was bullies trying to do this shit in person. When I was no longer able to defend myself because of injuries, that's when everybody looked away. Anyway, I'm super tired. It's Monday, so I got to get a hold of, God, what's that place called? Tides of Change. And try to get this stuff turned in and taken seriously. I mean, this is evidence of human trafficking and a lot of other crimes that I've been trying to turn in for years. Cause and effect, folks. A lot of people want to pretend that I'm a bad person because I had to scream at the top of my lungs. Because I was forced to commit desperate acts. People always want to point out the way that I reacted eventually. And that's got to be pointed out too. Eventually. With the situation with Natalie Bollinger, with all the threats and harassment and assaults that I was taking, I didn't threaten to kill anybody until well after she was already dead. And I threatened only the people who were threatening to kill my friends and family and the President of the United States. I threatened my predators and their predators. I threatened Danica Lachelle Garner's, sorry, I'm not sure how to exactly state that. When I threatened, it was to protect people like Danica Garner. It was to protect people like Rose Kelly. It was to protect people like Alicia Bollinger. These are my predators, people. And because of the mentally ill tag, they were allowed to get away with it. Same reason that Ted Bollinger got away with most of the shit that he did to his daughters, the mentally ill tag. Lucky for Natalie, she had a twin sister who was willing to work together with her. Luckily. Now Natalie Bollinger is dead, and Alicia Bollinger is stuck with her predator daddy. Here's the thing. No matter how much I want to make the world a better place, even for American military personnel, I want them to come home safely to their families. And although I don't design any weapons, when I hear about a problem that the military has, something that Americans are dying, I do want them to come home safe. And when I think about the stuff that I try to design, I think about people that I know personally in the military that I want to come home safe. No matter what issues I had with Zach Metcalf, I still wanted him to come home safe. No matter what issues I had with William Simmons, I always wanted him to come home safe. Always. I had a lot of pent-up aggression over the abuse that I took, not just at the hands of people in the system, but even once I got out. I mean, going to Nebraska when you're the odd man out, you don't know anybody there. Yeah, people are kind of shitty to you. Anyway, I'm going to try to get a little bit of a nap in. And I'm going to get back to one of my ideas, and I'm going to try to get some fucking property. I was going to get that before Natalie was killed. That's the problem with false accusations. All the money that was going to be used so that I could get property, so I wouldn't be stuck in a subservient environment just because an alcoholic or a meth addict has money for a house. In a lot of those cases, those people got to keep what they had because I exist. They got to keep what they had because of my disability money. Now here I am living in my vehicle, the evidence that I need to clear my name and to get back at least part of what's been taken from me so that I can actually be left alone instead of victimized for the rest of my life. I've been victimized homeless for most of my adult life. We're stuck in subservient environments with very fucked up people. I wanted a hobbit hole. I wanted to help build a castle with my bare hands for my loved ones. You know, it started off as this idea when I was a little kid about, Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, a safe place for them. A place where the staff members don't touch you inappropriately because they're not there. Where you guys are allowed to play and have fun. You're allowed to go outside. You're not drugged into oblivion. And it always stayed that way. But it advanced as I learned how to do things. Case Morrissey thought it was a great idea. He was one of probably 100 people that told me if I ever get the property, they'll show up and help me build it. Case wanted to learn how to use heavy machines. And he told me, he said, you know what, I'll get the heavy machines. If you get the property, I'll run the heavy machines. And I always told him, you know what, I'd rather do it with my hands. It's not as expensive. See, that's one of the things about time and effort. In order to buy one of those big machines, you have to put in a lot of manual labor. And if you're going to put in that manual labor anyway, you might as well put it in for yourself. What do you need that big old heavy machine for? Did the Romans do it that way? No. 100 Roman men could make a Roman marching fort in just a few hours a night and take it down first thing in the morning and fill everything back in and march down the road again. If they can do that every night and take it down every morning, then somebody who has property they plan on staying on, you can put it up at night and you can leave it up. If you've got 100 people that are going to live there, well, it might not be 100 people to begin with. It might just be you. Go at it a little bit at a time. You know, inch by inch, it's all a cinch. If you're going to put all that time and effort in to try to earn the money by putting in that manual labor, you're just putting in a lot of extra work because you're not getting out of your labor what it's worth. You can go out in the woods, long as you know what you're doing, knock down a few trees, and you don't have to knock down a shit ton of them. Use some of the dirt and the surrounding material, and you can make yourself a house that'll last a really long time and will be very comfortable. You can expand it, you can make it bigger, and you can replace those trees pretty easily. I learned how to do a lot of different types of gardening because I always figured if you're going to have a place like that, it'd be great to have food grow on the walls. If you're going to be living inside of it, you could grow food on the walls, put fruit tree on the top of the walls. And you guys, when you think of walls, you're thinking like castle walls, actual castle. What I'm thinking about is it's dirt. It's piled up dirt. That's what it is. Or piled up dirt with rocks in it, or piled up dirt with rocks on the inside or on the outside, but it's just piled up dirt. The Romans would dig a 3-foot deep trench that's 6 foot wide, and when they would take all the stuff that's in that ditch and throw it up towards the inside of the fort, and basically what that did is it gave them about a 6-inch or a 6-foot sloped wall. That gives you quite a height advantage on anybody. But also something like that can be used for collecting water, especially if you know how to angle rocks right, use gravity, utilize sand. You can actually use that for getting water and filtering your water. You can also use it for growing blackberries, because see, on the outside of the walls, I always thought, well, I'd like to live out in nature. There is some pretty big animals out there. I do plan on having some farm animals like chickens for eggs. I don't want bears or anything like that eating them. If I surround the place with natural barbed wire, like blackberries, even bears are kind of skittish about going through that stuff. They don't like stepping on it. Their pads are thick, but there's still thorns that go in there, and they don't like it. There's a video of a bear trying to lick a sticker that it got in its foot out of a blackberry, and it's on the internet somewhere, but this bear is just going at it. Eventually, it looks like the bear is going to chew its foot off, basically trying to get the thing out of it. And that's deterrent. Also, that allows a place for a lot of smaller animals like rabbits, kind of a place to hide. And because it gives them a place to hide, that's another source of food in case of emergencies. Terraforming correctly can bring you animals. If you know the right plants to put in your yard, you can attract all sorts. Let's say you love butterflies. You can type up on Google what plants attract butterflies. And there's a whole list of plants and what butterflies in specific they attract. You plant those things in specific. You put them where you want the butterflies to be. Let's say there's a butterfly that's attracted to lilacs in specific. And you want to see butterflies when you're sitting down at your dinner table or lunch table, your dining table. And you want to look out your window and see those butterflies. If you plant those lilacs there, you'll get to see those butterflies part of the year. Same thing with fruit-bearing stuff. You can grow stuff like blackberries on the outside. You can grow bamboo in this area, which can be used for structural stability. It grows super fast, and you can use it, well, it's renewable. It grows every year. You chop it down, it grows back. You chop it down, it grows back. Meanwhile, every time you chop it down, you get a whole bunch of free building materials. Just a little bit of manual labor. I'm gonna try to go back out there. That gentleman that's out there, he said he was gonna be done around noon. He also said people don't usually like giving any money out on Monday, which that's probably true. Right now, I'm wishing the best for him. He said he's got to try to come up with $200 altogether, but he's trying to panhandle up 20 right now. Now, the thing he's talking about, I think it's a scam, but I'm not sure. Because this is a person he knows, and apparently he's done this before. He's just trying to get to some other town, and he's got to do this thing through Western Union to get him to this other town or something. I don't know. But it's costing him $500. And I guess it's his wife. So that kind of makes it so that it falls out of the scam category. And the $500, I guess, is because she's trying to start a cosmetics thing. He also lives in the house, which I didn't find out until today, but they have an actual house. And she's making a cosmetics business, and I guess he got fed up with her for a little bit. But she was supposed to come down here with him. And I don't know if he actually has a wife. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that he was talking to somebody on the phone earlier, but I heard him talking. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted, and I should be drinking my Mountain Dew. He didn't want to lose the corner, so he had me run in and get him a Pepsi, and he told me to get me a Mountain Dew while I was at it. He wanted the 1 liter one, not the 20 ouncer. I got the 20 ouncers. He complained a tiny bit, but said it was okay. Anyway, I had to come back to my car and cry, and I get made fun of for that. I gotta do my breathing exercises so I don't cry right now. I gotta keep my eyes on the prize. And that's a better world for all of us. It's a place where everyone has a place. Everyone should have at least a small piece of land that is theirs so that they can actually have rights. Instead of being subservient and scared all the time of losing everything. And the only people that you're allowed to take it out on now are the people who have already lost everything. So that's where your hatred goes. That's where your hatred lies. It lies in the people that you're afraid of becoming. You're all afraid of becoming homeless and being treated the way that you treat the homeless. Even those of you who are good to them. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind. I'll tell you about my castle and the Hobbit hole next time.